Please, I say you should remain on hold. Remain on hold. I will get you back. Remain on hold. Okay, stay on hold. Don't drop. Don't drop. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be back with you today. I am coming to you with a very, very exciting broadcast today. Today is May the 19th, May the 19th, in the year of our Lord, 2020. And tomorrow, for the past 60 years, ladies and gentlemen, supposed to be the day we all have food to go out and march and so-called celebrate a 20th May that was forced upon us all, Ambazonians. But thank God our eyes are now open and we have resolved to have nothing to do with French Cameroon's 20th May. And so today I have a very special panel that shall be discussing the subject of this 20th May that was forced upon us Ambazonians. You are going to enjoy the panel, I believe so, 100%. So please, as usual, what I'd like you to do is go straight to your share button, hit your share button. Let us get the platform populated immediately. In the next 3 minutes, let's get 700 people on this screen. Again, I have 3 people on the panel today. I don't want to disclose their identities yet. You will sit there and watch and enjoy. And I mean it. But before I get there, I just like to do some housekeeping before I take you into the discussion today. I want to thank all of Ground Zero. It was a wonderful shutdown today in all of Ambazonia. We saw the pictures, the videos coming in from Abakwa, and we saw the photos coming in also from Kumba, from Monyoka. It was great. The place, the communities were dead, shut down, and I want to appreciate every Ambazonian out there on Ground Zero for making this to happen. La République du Cameroon is jittery right now, ladies and gentlemen. They are very, very jittery in Yaoundé. They don't know what is coming their way. For the past 3 weeks, they thought they are now in charge. They thought they are regaining control. Let me send a message to them today, and I hope they hear me very, very clearly. They are not getting any control over Ambazonia, over the southern Cameroons. Never again will French Cameroon regain any form of control over the territory that we call today the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And so that is a message we send to them. By these shutdowns, the ghost towns and the ghost cities, and the cooperation and the collaboration of every Ambazonian on Ground Zero. Thank you very, very much on behalf of your interim government. I'd like to appreciate you. Besides that, we have also besides that, we have the battles that are going on in Bamenda. We learn in Tarikon, in Kwen, Mankon. There have been wars, battles raging in these communities. Moyoka, we heard about the shootings in Moyoka, and the Ambazonia Restoration Forces in Moyoka giving French Cameroon soldiers their march in Moyoka. That was yesterday. I'm told that it continued into the morning hours of today. We continue to let La République know we are in charge of Ambazonia, every inch of territory in Ambazonia. And by the way, when I talked about territory, I want you out there to take this home. And if you have any information, please contact me. In a few days to come, I shall be having a special show, a special broadcast to discuss all our lands that have been stolen by French Cameroon officials, both in the southern zones and in the northern zone. We have learned in the northern zone, all the piece of property, the real estate along Bamenda, Bambui, Bambile Road, is all taken over by Francophones. Upstation, Bamendankwe, taken over by Francophones. I also understand the land going, the piece of real estate heading towards Mbengui Road, all bought by Francophones. In the southern zone, the land, the place they call a Sokolo, where you have the new stadium, all that property given to privileged so-called colonial administrators. We got to reclaim those pieces of property, and the Moliko area, all that pieces of property there, we got to reclaim them. We are doing a special broadcast to expose, ladies and gentlemen, every piece of property that has been taken over from Ambazonians by French Cameroon colonial administrators in our territory. And so, if you are out there, especially on ground zero or in the diaspora, and you have any information on any piece of property, be it land or a home, a house, that has been bought or taken over by any French Cameroon citizen and administrator in Ambazonia, please get the piece of information to me. Get that piece of information to me. Again, I'm doing a very, very special broadcast in the coming days to expose what is happening with our real estate. I got a call the other day from a lady from Europe who said to me, Secretary Chris, why don't you do something? The piece of property, the real estate between Tico Douala that belongs to Ambazonia is all bought over, taken over. It's being sold by these unscrupulous chiefs to Francophones, and guess who the Francophones are? They give the land free of charge to their administrators. The administrators turn around, sell the land in millions. We are going to expose it, and place you have any information out there about the land in Upstation Bamendankwe and all of Upstation, you got information, get that to me. Anywhere in Bamenda where Francophones have bought this land, and in the southern zone, get the information to me, ladies and gentlemen. I also understand, even right in my own county, in the BLM, Francophones are coming in to buy all the cocoa farms. They want to buy all the whole. I don't know how I can describe it. This is serious. They are invading our territory, not just killing us, trying to get us to control us. They are also about taking all the land, all the property. We have to send a strong message to them that we take Ambazonia, we take everything, including every piece of property that they took illegally from clandestinely from our leaders. Thank God the chiefs are now talking to us and revealing what is going on to us. We will expose them and expose their names and precisely where they own lands in the northern zone and in the southern zone. Please, you are out there, you have some more information, get it into my hands. Thank you very much. Please go ahead, hit your share button, before I bring in my panel today. I'd like to talk about one more thing. I think I'm exhausted. I've exhausted. Let me talk about ABC Amber Club and the CID, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Kupe Maneguba is having their war drive coming up this weekend. We want to appeal to every Ambazonian out there to come out and fraternize with our comrades in Kupe Maneguba. That is a county that is under a lot of persecution from the French Cameroon administrators. I learned as of yesterday that French Cameroon has actually supplied guns to a number of chiefs in the Nguti, I think in Bangam. Of course, Nguti is the same county. But the French Cameroon government administrators have actually bought guns, supplied guns to a number of chiefs in Kupe Maneguba. And the guns have been given to the so-called vigilantes, as they call them, in that community, and they are now going after our restoration forces. And unfortunately, our restoration forces are not now as equipped as the boys who are having these guns from the chiefs. We got to do something in Kupe Maneguba. Remember, Kupe Maneguba is a neighboring, it's a border county. It's a border county, I think, with is it Lum? Am I right? I think so. Yeah, with Lum, correct. I think they share a boundary with Lum. In fact, most of their towns like Bangam are filled with francophones. Francophones. In fact, the mayor of Bangam is a francophone, ladies and gentlemen. We got to do something. We need to step out this weekend in our numbers. Forget where you come from. Forget whether you are from Mezam, from Menchum, from Lebialem, from Fako. We all need to step out to show solidarity with the Kupe Maneguba, to support them so they can equip those boys to stand and be able to reclaim, take back Bangam, Kupe Maneguba from our colonizers, the invaders. We need to do that. So this weekend is Kupe Maneguba's drive. Let us come out in our numbers. All right, I understand the links are circulating out there. I have my correspondent in Bamenda who is coming to update us on what has been going on in Bamenda in the past days. But for the moment, I just want to remind all of you out there that we are still recruiting for Amba ABC Club. We are still recruiting for the club. If you are not yet a registered member of the club, please get to the website www.abcambertv.org www.abcambertv.org. Get on the website, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe. It will cost you only $10 a month to be part of this wonderful enterprise that the interim government is putting up here in the name of ABC. We want ABC to eventually become the BBC of Africa, the radio #1 of Africa. I don't know whether that radio still exists. When I was young, we used to, every 1 p.m. or every top of the hour, we hear radio #1. I think it was broadcast from Gabon or so. And it was a very popular radio. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot is happening in Africa. Unfortunately, the international media that the rest of us depend on, the CNN, the BBC, the Al Jazeera, the France 24, and so on and so on. They will not report the African story. No, they don't. They will not report the African story. Look at what is happening in Madagascar. You don't see it on Fox News. You don't see it on CNN. You don't see it on MSNBC, not on BBC, not on Deutsche Welle. You don't see it there. We, Africa, ladies and gentlemen, have to push Africa. In the coming days, ladies and gentlemen, I shall be having the communication minister from Madagascar on ABC, maybe tomorrow. But this is what ABC is all about. It is all about Africa. Not just about Ambazonia, it is all about Africa, and we are looking to the day that ABC will be quoted from every nook and cranny of Africa as Africa #1 television. That will happen. But before that will happen, please, I am appealing to all of you out there who have not yet subscribed to ABC Amber Club. Please go to the website abcambertv.org and please hit the contribution button. You can do a one-time donation. If you don't want to subscribe for a whole year, you can do a one-time donation. Just get to the website. You will see the club banner. Click on the club banner. It takes you to the page and you do your subscription. If you don't want to do a subscription, a monthly subscription, you want to do a one-time donation, get to the website, and you will see on the menu bar, on the top menu bar, you will see a donation button. Hit on that, it will take you to the page where you can do a one-time donation. So please, thank you. Let us make ABC great. I hope you heard me. Yes, let all of us, it doesn't matter whether you are from Ambazonia or not, you are African, please, this is about all of us. Let's make ABC great. Get to the website, do so right now. And of course, I won't forget the CID, compulsory independence dues. This is, as the name implies, it is compulsory. Very, very compulsory for every Ambazonian who cherish this struggle and our independence to please get on the website, cid.ambacitizens, I think so, yes, .com, and please enroll for the CID, $10 a month, $20 a month. Let us, ladies and gentlemen, support our struggle, sponsor our struggle. Please, I have not seen 700 people yet. Hit your share button if you have just joined. Go ahead and please hit your share button. Now, I will take you to Bamenda, ladies and gentlemen. I will take you to Bamenda, where a lot of things have been happening in the northern zone. A lot of things have been happening in the northern zone. And I have one of our correspondents who will bring us details of what is going on in the northern zone and the success, of course, the failure too, of what French Cameroon has been trying to do to budge this struggle. They have been so excited within the past few weeks. The news going over that all the revolution is dying. Their fighters are surrendering. Their fighters are deserting. Our fighters are not deserting. Anybody who desert wasn't meant to be in this struggle. I can assure you that. Our fighters remain as strong and brave and courageous and determined as they have always been. And let me get to my correspondent now. Hello, sir. Hello, Martin.
Hello.
Hello, Martin. Can you please lower the volume of the background set and just focus on the phone, please?
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Wonderful.
Are you
Perfect.
getting me?
All right. I can hear you 5 on 5. Good. Please, a lot has been going on in Bamenda, in Bafut, in Mancon, in Nquen, all over the city of Bamenda and the neighborhood. Can you go ahead and tell us what happened in Tarekon, in Mancon, in Nquen, between yesterday and today, please?
Good evening, Secretary Chris. Good evening to everybody watching ABC at this hour. A lot has been happening in Bamenda. And the first thing I would like people to know is that on Ghost Town days, especially in Nquen, we find some Okadas transporting personnel, transporting passengers. Not necessarily those who are going to the hospital, but we noticed that the market around Mubirnkwen, Yaoundé Park, former Yaoundé Park, you find people doing some buy and sell there, and so this Okada transport people there and come back, and we have observed keenly that these guys are mostly Bamilikis. On Ghost Town days like this, you find a lot of Bamilikis running Okada in town, mostly the Bundas. So the interim government should take note of this and see how they can work with the restoration forces on the ground.
Okay,
The second
that
thing
is
I would like the yes.
yes, that is very important. So you are saying that you are very sure that these Okada guys are the immigrants from Mbunda, French Cameroon, and they circulate
Yes.
mostly
French
around
Cameroon.
Nkwen Park area.
Yes, because around Mankon, around Old Church Junction, going down to Travelers and Mbengwi Road, I have information. You hardly find these guys there. You hardly find Okada. On Ghost Town days, you hardly find any circulation around that area. But here in Kwen, it is so rampant. It is so rampant in Kwen.
Now, how about the shops in Nkwen? Are they also open, or are some open?
No, no, no.
So where are these
When on
people
Ghost
carrying?
Town days,
Where are the Okadas carrying people to? To offices or to what?
it's a difficult thing. I cannot really explain. I cannot really explain. But you find them plying the roads. You find them plying the roads.
Is it also not possible that some of these Okada riders are military men in civil?
It is very, very possible because the regime is doing everything to kill ghost towns in Bamenda. They know Bamenda is the heart of the revolution. So according to them, if ghost towns die in Bamenda, then they have conquered the show.
Now, this unelected mayor in, I don't know what is mayor of Bamenda 2 or what, I think so, this guy that supposed to be the lackey of Paul Atanganji, who is trying to do everything to make sure that ghost towns that die in Bamenda. We see him trying to conduct some rallies, some campaigns on Mondays.
Yes.
Does this guy think that he is so secured, or why does he think that he can beat public interest in these exercises?
What he has been doing for the past weeks, is that mostly around food market, Bamenda food market, a bag of rice is 5,000 francs. They sell items there at the relatively cheap price so that people can leave their houses, they come and buy. They want movement in Bamenda on ghost town days.
So the mayor brings in bags, truckload of rice, and a bag is sold for 5,000.
As low as 5,000 francs. Savon so cheap.
In regular times, how does a bag of rice sell for?
In regular times, a bag of rice that is 50 kg is close to 18, 19, 20,000 francs.
So where is this mayor getting his own supply?
That is the question nobody can tell. They are doing everything to kill the ghost towns in Bamenda.
So did he do that yesterday, Monday?
No, it was not done. Last Monday, Restoration Forces has given a sound warning to residents around hospital and about. To those who visit the food market on Mondays, they gave a sound warning. And last Monday, that was not done. At the end of the day, the city mayor was over the air and said his suppliers failed him. That is why the exercise did not take place.
Oh, he said his suppliers failed him.
Yes, those who supplied the rice for them to sell on Mondays failed him. That is why the exercise did not take place.
Well, that is an exercise in futility because I do not know for how long he can continue to do that. He will run out of supply eventually. And while he runs out of supply, ghost towns, shutdowns, they will continue. I know that Abakwa people are very intelligent, very smart people. They know the ploys of some of these colonial unelected officials, and they will beat them. They will beat them. And I like to send a message to that colonial unelected mayor that he is only there for as long as we allow him to be there. His days are counted. His days are counted. He saw what happened in Boya. He saw what happened in Manfe. He is not anybody so special. Mr. Ekema thought that he was invincible. He did everything to avoid the hands of revenge until it happened suddenly. We are asking this mayor and all the mayors, unelected mayors in all of Amazonia, you are only there for the moment, sirs, because nobody elected you. There was no election in the Southern Cameroons, from the presidential to the legislative and to the municipal. So, if you are imposing yourself and also trying to insert certain authority upon the people, you are only doing so for a moment. We are looking out for you. All right, so besides that, how was shutdown received? Because I know there were people were asking why is shutdown, why French Cameroon has already declared a cancellation for Labor Day and for May 20th. How was shutdown received out there in the city?
You know, when some activists explained that on May 1st, Labor Day, the regime had cancelled the celebration of the Labor Day just for the city mayor of Bamenda to turn around and organize what he organized at Commercial Avenue. So when some activists like Kemi Ashu, Oben Moses, they had explained the raison d'etre for this lockdown, a lot of people were happy about it. And you know, for quite some time, so many people have been writing to you people that if ghost towns could be stepped up to 2 times per week, a lot of people on Ground Zero, Monday and Tuesday, I don't think a lot of them will have any problem with that.
Well, we really don't want to unnecessarily step up Ghost Town into a number of days, because it is our understanding that people are really feeling a lot of pain on Ground Zero already. And I think when you take away one more day from them, a day in which they can go out, make a little money, because not everybody is a civil servant out there. Lots of people depend on the little things they go and sell in the market for a living. So we are here, we have the feeling that you take one more day from them, it only just increases the pain. It increases the pain that lots of them are going through. Unless we get the call coming again and again from both zones, then we may have to think about that. But for now, I think it's not just necessary to do so, but what we have to do is when it becomes necessary, as in this shutdown, 20th May shutdown, when it becomes necessary, if it means 1 week, if it means 2 weeks, if it means 3 weeks, even a month, we will not hesitate to call it so. So our appeal to everyone on Ground Zero is to understand us. We do not want unnecessary lockdown and ghost town that add to the suffering of our people on the ground. We will only call shutdowns and lockdowns or ghost towns when it becomes necessary, and we expect that you understand and you see with us and know where we are coming from.
One thing we propose that the interim government should do is, on ghost town days like this, images from Kumba showing lockdown, images from Manfe showing lockdown should be broadcasted over ABC, because the regime in Yaoundé is saying Southwesterners no longer respect lockdown. It is only the people in Bamenda. It is only the people in Bamenda, giving the impression that only Bamenda people are respecting lockdown, that the Southwesterners are no longer in that your revolution. So on ghost town days like this, images from Kumba, images from Muyoka, images from Mutengene, showing how stores are locked, showing no circulation, should be broadcasted over ABC. You
are very correct. Now, this is the frustration, as you can see on your screen, For those of you who are watching, the images you are seeing, this was shut down today. I think this was Moyoka. I think this is Kumba Boya Road, or Kona Boya Road. This was today, completely shut down. We have some photos out there too of Kumba. It was dead, shut down in Kumba. But the problem we have is getting those images come to us timely enough and in good format for us to be able to run on ABC. We're going to be starting the news unit of ABC very soon. And we are hoping that we will have some folks on the ground who will send us images and footages in the format that can easily be played on TV. That way we can do exactly what you are suggesting. But yes, you are very correct. We are working on that. We will try to do that.
The next point I would like the IG to know is Brazzaville's drinks are back to normal in Bamenda.
Okay.
Everywhere they sell Brazzaville's drinks. Everywhere they sell Brazzaville's drinks. I think two weeks ago, when military invaded Bafut, a local government area, and it was alleged that one famous general Alaji, was killed.
Yes.
What happened? The Bamileke people around Mobirunkwen, they jubilated. Open territory expo. They did not even drink it again in hidings, and that is how they were saying that the issue is finished. General Alaji has been killed. Most of them were celebrating in bars. You go up station around custom area, you go to Amumezam, you go to Maifonkwen, you find Brazzaville's drinks everywhere. The interim government should work in collaboration with restoration forces to see that this one does not happen again. Everywhere in Bamenda you find Brazzaville's drinks. They don't even sell it again in hidings.
All right. We're taking note of that. Now, I also understand that up station Bamenda, a number of locations have been uncovered where the French Cameroon terrorists, soldiers, and gendarmes bury the people they kill. Have you learned about that?
No, I have not had information about that. Instead, we had information about a small place in Bambui, not far from Bambui Four Corners, along the road to Bafut, just a few hundreds of meters.
Okay. What goes on there?
As if they had a Waterloo. It might be in Bello or in Bafut. And on their own Four Corners, they started shooting in air just to disperse the population. And they just went and dug a mass grave there and laid the corpses. That one was uncovered. If it is Bamenda upstation, I have no idea.
All right. Listen, thanks a lot, Martin. I'll be getting back to you for subsequent subsequent broadcasts. I just want you to please stay safe, and we will talk again.
Yes, before we stop our communication, I would like you to know about you find a lot of black legs in the city of Bamenda. A lot of black legs. If restoration forces can fish them out, it's really going to help the population a lot.
Well, yesterday, I was warning yesterday in the broadcast of yesterday that any black leg that is caught will pay the ultimate price, because we're not going to have thousands of our people dead. And then you have a few individuals out there for the greed and love of money selling this struggle for any reason. So any black leg that is caught out there in both zones will pay for it. There will be no mercy for them. Listen, thank you a lot. We will talk again subsequently.
It was my pleasure. Thanks also.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when I come back, I will bring to you the panel for today. It is going to be a lively and exciting panel. Please, let me take a commercial break out. Do not touch your remote.
You need a financial instrument that provides a hedge against inflation, 100% guarantees that you will not lose your money, has tax-free growth and distribution, the ability to take an interest-free loan, avoids probate, provides creditor protection, guarantees your family that your income will be replaced should you die, helps you protect yourself financially against chronic, critical, and terminal illness, and of course allows you to take money anytime for any reason at any age without a tax penalty. You need only as little as $50 to invest per month. Contact Irene Fombo. Tell 513-5014-177 or send an email to irenenpmsn@gmail.com. You need a financial instrument that provides a hedge against inflation, 100% guarantees that you will not lose your money, has tax-free growth and distribution, the ability to take an interest-free loan, avoids probate, provides creditor protection, guarantees your family that your income will be replaced should you die, helps you protect yourself financially against chronic, critical, and terminal illness, and of course allows you to take money anytime for any reason at any age without a tax penalty. You need only as little as $50 to invest per month. Contact Irene Fombo. Tell 513-5014-177 or send an email to irenenpmsn@gmail.com. You need a financial instrument that provides.
Start a new career as a Linux system administrator with an average salary of $80,000 to $120,000 a year. Dynamic Tech Academy has transformed many lives for the better through our 6-month Linux program. We are so excited to announce that we are adding DevOps course and Red Hat certification at no charge, which will make students more competitive. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet vast majority of alumni land jobs in 3 to 6 months after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student employment, so we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will provide resume building, interview preparation, and job placement assistance. With the Linux course, you get more than 300 hours of in-depth training, and you get to learn from experienced instructors. By the end of the program, our students can be Red Hat certified if they choose. Our alumni work in companies, both government and private companies in the USA, Canada, and even Europe. Want to learn more about the program? You can contact us at info@dynamicdmv.com, or you can call us at 240-604-9505, or you can call us at 240-423-7865. And you can also visit us at www.dynamictechdmv.com. If you are interested in online classes, please register on our website. That's once again www.dynamictechdmv.com.
right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I will now take you into the subject proper for this broadcast today. But before we get there, I just want to give you a background to what we are discussing here today with the panel. 60 years ago, I should put it that way to just summarize it up. 60 years ago, no, let me say not 60 years, from 1972, French Cameroon administration, then Ahidjo, made us to understand it was better to have a united Republic of Cameroon than a federal Republic of Cameroon. And so on May 20th, 1972, Mr. Ahidjo introduced what he called the United Republic of Cameroon, essentially wiping away the federal structure form of state that existed from 1961. And so it did not end there. The successor of Mr. Ahidjo in the person of current president of French Cameroon, Paul Biya, in 1984, changed it from United Republic of Cameroon to the Republic of Cameroon. Now, all these changes have not come without agitation and condemnation from Ambazonian citizens. If we are where we are today, in fact, when you hear about the root causes of the conflict in which we are, this is the most important of those root causes. The transformation, the fraudulent transformation of the name and the form of state from a federal republic to a united republic and then to a republic. You know, they subtly did this to give the impression Cameroon was getting synchronized. But guess who was being synchronized? It wasn't the French Cameroonian, it was a Southern Cameroonian who was being assimilated, put in sync with French Cameroon culture, tradition, way of life. And that is why today we cry of the death of every institution and infrastructure that we Ambazonians inherited from the colonial masters, the French, the Anglo-Saxon system. And so today, being that we were supposed to be marking 20th May celebration, but we have rejected it, I thought I should have a panel discussion on this subject of 20th May. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me here in the on the set three gentlemen who are very, very conversant, who are masters of this subject of the fraud. I call it the fraud that took place between 1961, 1972, 1984, and I am talking about from my right, the one and only Honorable Professor Martin Ayim, who is joining me all the way from the great state of Louisiana. And in the middle, you have our one and only barrister Valentine Ghana, joining me from the great state of, what is that again? Chicago?
Kansas.
No. Where? Kansas, yes, Kansas, thank you. And of course, you have one of the fathers of this revolution still alive and kicking. I am talking about Pa Augustine Ndanga, who is a moving encyclopedia. Ladies and gentlemen, in this struggle, I am happy, I am excited to have all of you here I want to believe that Ambazonians are going to learn a great lesson from all of you who know the history, the background of what we call the root causes of this revolution. Thank you for joining the show, sir. Prof. Ayim, let me start with you, sir. Prof. Ayim, ladies and gentlemen, equally is the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs for the federal government of Ambazonia. So, Prof. Ayim, I would like to start with you, sir. You have been around for a long time, just like Pa Augustine and Dangam, almost, and not the same, but almost. Ghana and myself as still are novices, I guess, compared to Pa and Dangam. So let me start with you, Prof. Ayim. We are talking about what I have described on your screen as the fraud from the Federal Republic to the Republic. We were never consulted. We never endorsed it. Can you take us through some of the frustration that Ambazonians have had to go through under these changes, please?
Thank you very much, Secretary Chris. Thank you for inviting me to your show today. And I want to take off first by recognizing and showing my appreciation and respect for our GZ, Ground Zero fighters and heroes and heroines of this struggle. And I would invite people to have a minute of silence. For our prisoners of conscience, for our refugees, internally displaced persons, for the bereaved families, and for all who have lost their lives because of this senseless war. Please, just a minute of silence for them. I honor them a lot.
Thank you.
To God be glory.
Amen.
It is also a singular pleasure to be side by side with the national chairman of SCAPO, my boss. Of course, I subscribe to the philosophy of SCAPO, and I'm really honored to be side by side with him. I know he is our encyclopedia, and I know he's going to tell us more specifics. Listen, people, this 20th May thing will be recognized and always remembered as the day when a referendum was conducted and the two answers were yes and we. For those who understand French, yes and we means yes. So, yes and yes.
Prof. Ayim, hold on there a second, please. If I may ask, how old were you when this referendum took place?
I was born in 53, and if you can do the maths, and 72, I just finished from bilingual grammar school, Yaoundé. I was in Bamenda, teaching at Longla, playing also with the PWD Social Club. So, how old was I? I was in my late 20s.
Okay, all right. So I guess I should question you and Pa Augustine why you allowed the choice, why you couldn't read between we and yes.
In the days of Ahidjo, you don't have to read anything. They will impose it and enforce it, and you do it as it is. And even if the results are not proclaimed, they proclaim them in Yaoundé. It's not like even these days that people can have the chance to react. But in those days, it was just one party thing, and it was just going to be executed as said. All right? So that was a different environment than now.
So,
okay.
Thank you. Let me get to Pa Augustine there. Please, can you tell us what transpired between 1961 and 1972 before Ahidjo decided to change the name, the title, Federal Republic to United Republic. Can you tell us what, briefly, you don't need to go into all the details, so we'll save some time and talk other issues, but tell us what transpired between 1961 and 1972 that led to Ahidjo changing from the appellation Federal Republic to United Republic.
Thank you very much, Chris. And I want to thank Dr. Ayim for his introductory remarks. I very much associate myself with the idea that we pay homage to those who have left this world because of our struggle. Thank you very much, Professor Ayim. And I want to tell Chris and particularly our compatriots that by God's grace, I participated not just in the 1972 referendum. I actually participated in the United Nations plebiscite and officiated. I served in that plebiscite in the Mezam West, and I can go into details of what happened, but the point is 72. I think that Chris has hit the nail, the most important nail on the head, by saying that this was a fraudulent act. So what I can say that happened between 1961 and 72 is the scheming for fraud. I want to elaborate on that. As I told you when you contacted me, Chris, about an hour ago, if we are speaking anything about our country, I don't need to prepare. So I accepted to join the panel at this late hour. If I knew we were going to ask details like this, I would have prepared. And when you talk of fraud, and I use the word fraud, I show the evidence. I show the proof. But I heard of this panel discussion only about an hour ago. Let me hit on that word fraud, okay, because we should not throw words around irresponsibly. There are two ways in which, as an Anglophone, I'm speaking from the standpoint of a Southern Cameroonian, we say it was fraud on two counts. One is that before the plebiscite, the agreement between the two states, between Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, was that we were going to build a federation of two states, and both states will be on equal basis. That is, two states, both states equal in status. It was not going to be one state being the provinces of another. That agreement is the first thing that when we talk about fraud, you want to change that agreement, we should sit down and talk. You shouldn't impose it. So, talking from the standpoint of Southern Cameroon, this was the agreement between the two states. The second thing that we should say that this was a fraud is, by the time we came into union with the Republic of Cameroon, we knew the statistics, the demographic statistics. We knew that we were 1/4 of their population. They had more people than us. That was a fact. We didn't dispute it. So if you came to saying we should do something to change the form of state, and then you use your population superiority to impose that idea of yours, that is fraud. You knew that you have more people. And then in the plebiscite, it was Southern Cameroon alone that voted to join the Republic of Cameroon. Southern Cameroon, with its population at that time, was 1/4 of yours. They voted alone. Now you want to change that form of state, you come with your own superior population and use that superior population. That was fraud. And the most important point in the fraud is what happened with the point that Professor Ayim started with. That is, you make an election and the government itself prints ballot papers, which if I knew maybe a few days earlier, I could make research and produce a photocopy of that ballot paper and show our people that the ballot paper that was used, the population was voters, were supposed to answer the question, do you approve of changing the form of state from a federation into a unitary state? The answer in any democracy, in any freedom of choice, should be either yes or no. But the ballot papers which we have, you can make research and look for it. You can look for it. The ballot paper, as Professor Ayim pointed out, was marked yes or we. So all those who voted in that plebiscite were voting between yes and yes in English, or if you are using the language on the ballot paper, yes and we. That is fraud by the state. So we are not misusing words here. That was fraud. So what happened between...
We all agree it was fraud, but the question, that this generation continues to ask is, how come intelligent people like you did not fight that fraud? You let it happen. Yes.
No, I can tell you that. I can tell you, yes. You asked me to give the background to this.
Yes.
Look, when did Ahidjo introduce that matter of changing the form of state? It was on the 6th day of May, before Parliament. The parliamentarians who went to Parliament that day didn't know what the topic they were summoned for. The head of state just appeared on the rostrum and said, I have decided to consult the people of the people of this country on the subject of referendum. From the 6th day, calculate how many days it was to the 20th. This was a national event which needed public debate. In a normal democracy, you give time for people to debate in public, in newspapers, in the media. They gave no time. And let me tell you, and quote somebody who is not here, but I'll quote him. And I believe from my faith and the way I was brought up, not to tell a lie because the person is dead. I can quote Dr. Fonlon talking to us in a group of university students. And I am not misquoting him because I believe that they are alive somewhere, in some form of life. Dr. Fonlon was a member of the Central Committee. And what he told us was that they themselves in this Central Committee, who were sent out to campaign about the referendum, went out to the provinces without knowing what they were going to tell the people, what the campaign was all about. And that it was there in the field, after they had held meetings in the governor's office about going into the field, that they received the text from Yaoundé saying what the referendum was all about. They themselves from the Central Committee. So if you ask me, if people of the Central Committee, members of government, like Dr. Fonlon, knew nothing, even though they were sent out, now you could ask him if he were alive, why did he go? But I want to tell you, you are asking him out of context. If you knew, or if you know the system of dictatorship, which the first dictator of Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo, his time, you will not ask this question. You will just laugh. I can quote you another person, I don't know whether he's still alive, the principal of CPC, Mr. Fonyang. He asked that question you are asking now.
Yeah.
And I wish you were alive to tell you what happened to him.
Because it's,
Right.
you know,
So
I asked that question.
it would have gone nowhere. What we are telling you is what happened. Ahidjo made that speech. He gave no room for debate. And people were forced to go and vote. And on the following day after the voting, the result was known. The result, if you read that, it was the people of Cameroon chose 99.9% to change the form of state. And you may ask, why did they accept that percentage? The head of state said it, and that is all. You said nothing.
Did
Foncha,
I mean,
yes, Foncha is not here.
Agitate over here. Those two Christians, because I guess he was the leader, the Southern Cameroon's leader.
I was not of his party, but I was close to him. I've held discussions with the late Dr. Foncha. And Foncha and the KNDP top brass, Von Lon and others, they held a meeting with Ahidjo after that to discuss the two parties. Yes, and what happened in that meeting, well, I don't want to go into it because it would have changed nothing. Foncha did his best. People like Von Lon did their best. If you know the quality, the mindset of Von Lon, frankness, and it is frankness that removed him from government. He was frank, and he did what you are asking now. That's the kind of thing Von Lon did. And he told the head of state, we are either sovereign and we take the decision we are taking for Cameroon, or I am not your minister. He said that and left the government. Yes.
All right, thank you. Let me get to the youngest amongst you there, who happens to be a constitutional lawyer, if I'm right. Please, Barrister Ghana, can you tell us the illegality between the change from Federal Republic to United Republic and then to the Republic by French Cameroon?
Thank you, Secretary Chris, for that question. And it's my honor to be here amongst two great individuals in our struggle, Pa Augustine Dangam and Professor Martin Ayim. Thank you guys tremendously for having carried forth the flame of our struggle to where it is right now. And I want to also join you people in bringing in memory all those who have been unjustly slaughtered in a genocidal way on our land. I want to bring to memory all those who are in jail, be it in Buea, in Bamenda, in Yaoundé, all over Francophone Cameroon, where our people have been abducted from Ambazonia and taken over to a jurisdiction where they should not even be there, consistent with the practice of law. So we want to keep in mind all of those who are suffering due to these brutal chains of oppression. But coming back to your question, Secretary Chris, 1972 is just another milestone in this sad, fraudulent, and illegitimate journey that was started in 1961. So the hoofbeats towards 1972 were already very loud. The fraud started even before October 1st, 1961, because when the two parties, people from French Cameroon and people from the Southern Cameroons, met in Fumban in July in an attempt to craft the terms of the union as was mandated by UN Resolution 1608, they did not conclude the crafting of any union. For the union to have been valid, they should have completed the terms of the union. They should have been signatories from, first of all, the union, whatever terms were concluded needed to have been ratified by the Southern Cameroon's parliament seated in Buea. It should have been signed by the sitting Southern Cameroon's prime minister in that place, Dr. John Foncha. And they ended the talks in Fumban with the promise to continue discussions to solve the open-ended issues which were not resolved, and that never happened. And no treaty of union was ever signed. And so that fraud started itself even before Fumban, continued in Fumban, and then the fraud proceeds to the British needing to have handed over power to the executive authority of the Southern Cameroons to get into this union. But the British here handed power to Amadou Ahidjo, who was the president of a foreign country. And then you move, you look at further steps of that fraud, being as soon as Ahidjo had power, coercing political parties in the Southern Cameroons to merge. By 1966, most of the parties had either merged or were dissolved. The fraud continues in 1968 when Estimona is sent to arbitrarily and against the law and against the constitution replace Honorable Augustine Bobejua, who was the legitimately elected Prime Minister of the Southern Cameroons. So by the time we get to 1972, it was just fraud that was being perfected, and the fraud will not stand. The international community has said the fraud will not stand. We have to get back into negotiations. And again, to further shine some light on this fraud, I know you asked Pa Augustine Dangam a question, and you asked the same question to Professor Martin Ayim, that how did you guys not resist? What, in law, any contract you enter with another party that is coercive is null and void. I cannot come kidnap your son and have him sign contracts to hand over certain goods and services and hold your son responsible. It's null and void because the contract itself is coercive. Growing up as a teenager, one of the books I read was Albert Mukong's Prisoner Without a Crime. And the evidences of resistance are scattered all over. Albert Mukong documented this very articulately in his book Prisoner Without a Crime, how those who tried to resist Ahidjo and to resist the French scheme and design to steal away the independence of the Southern Cameroons were arrested, were tortured, were imprisoned from Nkondengi to Chwali up in the north. And 20th May, which is coming tomorrow, stands as a symbol. It stands as a symbol of the attempts to wipe out any federal footprint in Cameroon, an attempt to eviscerate and annihilate the territorial, political, social, and historical identity of Ambazonia, which is itself, if you go under the UN definition of genocide, that in and of itself is genocide. An attempt to fasten the chains of bondage on Ambazonians as a forcefully annexed and enslaved people. So our legitimate war, our illegitimate uprising, the legitimate self-defense by our people on the ground is something that was predictable and forthcoming as a resistance to this naked, continuous aggression by La République du Cameroun with the overt help of France against our people. And so it is not right to say there wasn't any resistance. There was resistance by our people. But Britain also had not trained our people to have an army, which was a prerequisite for Britain to prepare our territory for independence. So we did not even have that army to resist the army of French Cameroon. So yes, there was resistance, and there is evidence, if you read Albert Mukong's Prisoner Without a Crime, of resistance that was being mounted by people, and it wasn't just enough to repel the naked aggression by French Cameroon and being directed by its principal, France.
Prof. Ayim, you have something to add there? I see you jittering over there to add.
Yes, I have a lot.
I will come back to you. Let Provide him jump in and add what he wants to add, please. Provide him.
Yes, I have a lot to add. Why this was a fraud in 1972 was that Ahidjo conducted this for the entire country. Fairness would have said, okay, only the Southern Cameroons would have conducted the referendum. But now the whole entire country, that wasn't fair. That was a fraud. Now, you see, we're talking about 1961. Before 1961, there were other occurrences. I want to take the time, just a little bit of time now, tell the youth listening to me, tell Amazonians listening to me, how it all progressed from illegality to illegality. Listen, in 1946, the UN Trusteeship Agreement handed the British Cameroon's territory to UK to prepare it towards unconditional independence according to UN Article 76B. So the entire territory of the British Cameroons as a trust territory should have been prepared to independence. The UN failed in that. UK manipulated the UN. Now, coming to the manipulations, UK now separated British Northern Cameroons and British Southern Cameroons, doing all their plebiscite and all that. All that was not necessary. You will know there is no international boundary between the British Northern Cameroons and British Southern Cameroons. This is the fraudulent work of UK. Now, this very UK, about their plebiscite, they quote Resolution 1608, paragraph 15, like the Foreign Affairs said, we voted. This was an illegal thing they did to start with. They should get the blame for the illegal things that they did to start with. You cannot quote Resolution 1608, paragraph 15, without mentioning paragraph 5, the implementation. So that plebiscite, we found ourselves where we were. The terms have not been implemented. So there actually was no federation.
Okay.
So that was an illegality. And we are two separate entities. Like I said, two separate entities cannot federate. So that was illegality. Now, from the 61 to 72, there was a federation that was not supposed to be. There was supposed to be a meeting in Kumban that came out with nothing. There was no treaty of union, like my comrade had earlier said, because if Kumban was productive, there would have been an agreement signed and deposited at the UN Secretary General's office according to UN Article 102, paragraph 1 and 2. There was nothing. So Kumban was just a party time. The UK itself did not come to Kumban. All right. So now UK handed the powers, the administrative powers, like my friend said, to Ahidjo on the 30th of September. So our people were powerless. So Ahidjo just brought his gendarmes and took over our territory. That is why I came from colonization to another. No, from colonization to colonization.
Okay. All right. Pa Augustine, you wanted to chip in something in this?
Yes, I'll chip in something in both what Professor Ayim has just said and in what Mr. Ghana said earlier. They have raised two important points because your push, I see, Chris, is for us, what action? How did you react? I think it should be clear to your listeners, to our people at back home, that the illegality, the mistakes that were made, if we want to use diplomacy, the big mistakes, catastrophic mistakes that were made, the deliberate actions of Britain concerning us, which if we want to be polite, we say they were mistakes, started with that of the plebiscite. And the commitment according to UN Charter for trusteeship territories, was you prepare Article 76, you prepare these territories in view of their independence. You develop them and give them their independence, self-government or independence, one of the two. Now, you are asking for our listeners to understand why there was no resistance. No, all along there has been resistance. Right from the time that the British said that the UN should conduct a plebiscite in southern Cameroon and ask the population to choose whether to get independence by joining Nigeria or independence by joining French Cameroons. There was protest. And our listeners, our population to know this. This is a historical point, which if I say you can also do your research to confirm or see whether I spoke the truth. Now, the first protest about this came from two political parties in southern Cameroon. Two valid political parties. One led by the Speaker of the Southern Cameroon House of Assembly, Kale. His political party, CUP, Cameroon United Party, petitioned the United Nations.
That was
and
right,
said
after,
that,
after that election?
No,
Is it right after that referendum?
Yeah, to choose between joining Nigeria or joining this one for our independence is not fair. If it is independence you are talking, then there should be a third question. There should be a third question. Do you want to be independent without joining this country or this country? Kale's political party wrote that. Another political party in southern Cameroon, led by a natural ruler, Chief Nyenti of Manyu County, wrote a similar petition to the United Nations. These petitions were treated objectively by the department in the United Nations in charge of answering questions about self-determination. That was the Trusteeship Council. These petitions went to the Trusteeship Council. They read it and said, yes, but it is their right to have a third choice. The United Nations should give a third choice in the plebiscite. The Trusteeship Council said this, and you can go online, you can go research on it. And the British response was what? The British sent to say that their representative at the United Nations should oppose it. The British representative at the United Nations at this time was called Sir Andrew Cohen. You can look at that name online, see what he said about British Southern Cameroon's plebiscite in 1961. Sir Andrew Cohen. He refused and said Britain would not be part of it for a third question. And before Foncha died, we called Foncha earlier, find the letter Dr. Foncha wrote a year before he died to the British government and to the United Nations on the third question in the plebiscite. Find this letter is very educated, showing that the British Cameroons wanted a third question, and that this third question about independence without joining is the option that should have won in the plebiscite. But the British people refused it and pushed for no third question. Foncha wrote this before he died and cleared his name. He wanted to go to the United Nations to talk about the fraudulent way in which Southern Cameroon was decolonized. But the British people did not allow him to do so.
No,
so there have been
here we are actually talking about the root, one of the root causes. One of the root causes.
The second thing I want to chip in is what lawyer Ghana brought up about Fumban. I'm glad that Fumban came up in this, because often in our struggle, when we talk about Fumban, we talk other things without the very basic thing. And the very basic thing as a Southern Cameroonian, and speaking from the standpoint of Southern Cameroons, that is wrong with our decolonization, is that the conference in Fumban was not authorized. Nobody authorized the Republic of Cameroon to convene a conference to discuss whether constitution or what about Southern Cameroons. Worse than that, the worst thing more than...
Hold on there. Hold on there. Are you saying nobody convened or asked that the Fumban conference
I'm saying that Fumban was unauthorized. It was illegal. If it was not authorized, it was illegal. It should not have been.
If there was no Fumban, how were the two parties going to discuss the terms of the form of state?
Chris, if you let me learn, you will see it clearly.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
I'm making clearly.
Go on, please. Go on.
Decolonization was the job of the United Nations. The United Nations was in progress, was in the progress of decolonizing Southern Cameroons. And to do this, they conducted a plebiscite. They sat down as a General Assembly, that's the highest organ in the United Nations, and was confirming the result of the plebiscite. And in the resolution 1608, paragraph 5, what they decided was that for Southern Cameroons to join the Republic of Cameroon, there should be a meeting. They should set up a committee, an international committee. And this international committee was set up by the General Assembly. It comprised of the government of Southern Cameroons, the government of the United Kingdom, the government of the Republic of Cameroon. This is an international committee set up in paragraph 5 of the resolution 1608, and charged the terms of reference was make detailed preparation before 1st October 1961 for the union between Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon. Full stop. That is what the United Nations, the highest organ in the United Nations, set up about our joining the Republic of Cameroon. That is authorized. This is what the United Nations did. They had the jurisdiction to do so. During that period, between 21st April and 1st October, Ahidjo convened a conference in Fumban, which was a bilateral conference between the Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroons. It was not authorized by the United Nations. In fact, in holding the Fumban conference, instead of the committee set up by the General Assembly, Ahidjo was interfering. Ahidjo was interfering in the decolonization process of the Southern Cameroons. They had no right. They had no right as a country, a sovereign country, a member of the United Nations, yes, but they had no authority to convene that conference, leaving aside, setting aside the committee work given to them assigned by the General Assembly of the United Nations. This is the standpoint from which all Southern Cameroonians should be talking. The first thing about Fumban is that it was unauthorized by the United Nations. The United Nations has set up a proper committee that should have done its work, made its report to the United Nations. That was legal, that was proper, that was set aside by Ahidjo, and he convened an internal meeting, a conference, bilateral conference, internal to his country, in his home territory.
Thank you about that. Let me take this to Prof. Ayim. Prof. Ayim, the United Nations, according to Pandangam, has set out a committee to oversee the complete independent process.
Not to oversee, please, not to oversee. To make the detailed preparation based on the agreement between the two states. That is what they should use, the policies that the two states had put forward and published. That is, those things are an alternative. whatever they agreed and published as a communique also, they were going to use it. The committee was going to use it to work out a treaty, to work out a constitution for the future union in Southern Cameroon.
For the future union. All right. But then instead of that, Ahidjo summoned Fumban. Prof. Aye, yes. Is it not the same thing we are seeing today, where the international community says, we want you to summon an inclusive dialogue, but in the place of an inclusive dialogue, French Cameroon has summoned a national dialogue. Doesn't it seem similar here?
It is similar, and that's why I said that national dialogue, it was like Fumban 2. You see, the decolonization process of the British Southern Cameroon is not completed when paragraph 5 of UN Resolution 1608-15, paragraph 5 is not implemented. It was the power of this paragraph 5 that this committee that Van Dangam is talking about UK, UN, government, the two governments, they were to meet. So that paragraph 5 has not been implemented. Therefore, the decolonization process of the Southern Cameroon and Amazonia is uncompleted. The United Nations has work to do. And this is an easy thing for the UN to do. They know that the articles and the resolutions have been violated. Why is Cameroon violating the articles and resolutions and going free
with impunity?
Who controls who? Is it UN controlling the La République or La République controlling the UN?
I hope that our people sitting at home on ground zero particularly are listening to this argument, because it is the reason why
let me
we
add
are
one
in
thing
this
there.
war. Yes, Augustine, go ahead, please.
Let me add one thing to where Professor Ayim has landed. Professor Ayim is right. In so long as that committee set up by the General Assembly did not do its work, did not execute the assignment given by the General Assembly, the decolonization process in Southern Cameroon was aborted. It was left unfinished. It was abandoned. It has never been completed. And the implication of that failure to do the assignment, that assignment means the whole resolution 1608 has never been implemented since it was adopted. It was adopted, and it is important for us to stress that it was adopted. And because it was adopted, Southern Cameroon has its independence, in the sense that in that resolution, the General Assembly meeting that they voted overwhelmingly, 64 votes for the independence of Southern Cameroon. That was the number of countries that voted to support our independence, and 23 against. So that the fact that that resolution has not been implemented doesn't change the fact that the General Assembly granted Southern Cameroon its independence. It did. And the other thing that we talk and we never mention is the fact that for that resolution of the United Nations that has remained unimplemented, the important department in the United Nations, the Trusteeship Council, recommended for that meeting that the United Nations should honor its commitments to the voters, to the population of Southern Cameroon. The Trusteeship Council held a meeting 3 days before the 21st, and their report shows that they were asking the United Nations to send a team of experts, 3 experts to represent the United Nations in the post-plebiscite conference. That is in the conference that is suggested in paragraph 5, which Professor Ayim and I have been talking about. That conference suggested in paragraph 5 The United Nations was supposed to be represented there by experts in administration, experts in constitution. Okay, and that body, that trusteeship council, is the final authority about decolonization. Is in the United Nations. That's the branch that is responsible, and they give this recommendation to the General Assembly. And only that recommendation, paragraph 6 of their report, is missing somehow in the report, in the final thing that the United Nations adopted. The United Nations Trusteeship, General Assembly, took that report of the Trusteeship Council and formalized it, adopted it as Resolution 1608 without paragraph 6. And that paragraph 6 is important. This is where we hold the United Nations and the British, by what we say in Pidgin, their canas. We hold them. This is recommended. We were not there. But the Trusteeship Council recommended that the United Nations should make a post-plebiscite conference and send these experts to represent the United Nations. And the United Nations did not honor that.
All right, but let me stop you there. Let me stop you there and ask this follow-up question for all of you. I will have for Ghana start. Don't we have another opportunity now in any mediation? Forget about the Swiss. I don't know whether that is coming first or what. But don't we have another opportunity when the whole world is saying they want an inclusive dialogue without preconditions? Don't we have another opportunity to now take this case to the mediation table to say, this is where our problem is? When you talk about root causes, this is where we trace our root cause to this conflict. Is that not an opportunity? Ghana, I'll start with you, please.
It's not just an opportunity, it is an imperative. It's an imperative because that is what must happen for this conflict to end. La République is dreaming and is having a very, very bad dream if it thinks that this conflict can end with it crushing Ambazonia on the battlefield. It will not. This conflict is going to end on the negotiation table. And on the negotiation table, La République will have to prove its claim to Ambazonia, which absolutely does not exist. In 2010, when a UN delegation visited there in that blood-stained Etudi, commemorating La République's 50th anniversary, we all remember that the UN representative Ali Triki brought 2 maps as a gift to Biya. Those maps were a map of French Cameroon and a map of the Southern Cameroons. Loudly demonstrated to deaf-tone La République that these are 2 entities in international law, and there is nothing in the UN that shows a treaty of union on how these 2 countries were brought together and how they agreed to live as one nation. So, yes, the negotiation is going to happen irrespective of how fast or how far La République tries to run. But the foolish thing about La République and all the collaborators from Ambazonia who are working with La République to deprive the Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, of its independence, is that they were able to suppress Ambazonia in the 60s and in the 70s when we were still in a fog of not having the international exposure, when our people had been suppressed and not prepared for independence, when we were not as educated, when we were not as internationally connected, when we were not as internationally traveled.
There because I pick an issue when you say that our people were not as educated. Francophones were not as educated as us. You had people on our side who had studied in London. And the Francophones did not have people think about Ahidjo. I think I'm told Ahidjo was a class 7 leaver.
But Secretary Chris, France was right there behind Ahidjo, guiding Ahidjo every step of the way. If you look at that charade of a conference in Fumban, French advisors were right there. Or if you see the pictures, French advisors were right there, guiding and teleguiding Ahidjo on what to do. The British should have, if we had held a conference, which Augustine Dangam rightly stated and demonstrated that UN Resolution 1608, Article 5, mandated 3 key parties to be at any conference to work out the modalities of a union: Southern Cameroons, French Cameroon, and the British. The French were there with their education, with their international connections, scheming our annexation. If you read, Pierre Mesmer was the French authority who oversaw the French policy towards our annexation. And in his book, and I think it's page 135, I can give you the evidence, he states there in French that, but for in appearance, this was an annexation. So yes, Foncha was a school teacher, Ahidjo was a class 7 leaver, but the UN system, the Southern Cameroons was not Britain's to give away. The French Cameroon was not France's to give away. These territories had to be settled consistent with the international law, consistent with UN resolutions. UN Resolution 1608, UN Resolution 1514 that came out December 15, 1960, granting independence to all trust territories and all countries that were under colonization. So, but the point I was making is that we as an Ambazonian people are light years away from the Southern Cameroonians that were deceived and had their rights shoved under the carpet in the 60s and in the 70s. My message to La République is that climb down from that stupidity of killing your African brothers at the guidance of France and concentrate on building your own country and let go of that web dream of trying to annex Ambazonia and let go, because we are not going to give up our birthright of an independent nation consistent with us being an independent entity in international law.
Thank you. Professor Yim, please.
Oh, yes. Let me state here that currently the literacy rate in Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon, it's high, one of the highest in Africa. We have people who can read and think and do things, experts in various areas as compared in the past. Now listen, I said 2 entities cannot federate, and let me tell you why I'm talking about 2 entities, 2 different entities. La République du Cameroon had their independence 1st January 1960. We were not part of them. That international boundary is clearly defined. Okay? And the African Union says countries should respect boundaries that, according to Africa Constitutive Act 4B, countries respect the boundaries they obtained at independence, which means that boundary between Ambazonia and La République is inviolable. Now, this compares to the maps that my colleagues mentioned about. So these are 2 distinct entities. We were UN Category B, Trust Territory. La République du Cameroon was UN Category B, Trust Territory as well. So these are 2 different entities, and we are not seceding because we were not part of La République when they had their independence. So the question to the UN, as I keep asking and I keep going around, this thing is as clear as anything. your articles have been violated, your resolutions violated. 26B, 1514 or 14th December 1960, and then the African Constitutive Act supports our independence. Why is this difficult? As I go around, this is a question I ask. Why is it difficult? Why are innocent people being killed? Why is La Republique in our territory? Why? Why are they destroying our property? Why? How did they get there? UN, can you fix this? In 1 minute, the UN can fix this problem.
And
Either by going back, let me finish mine. Either by going back to the 1946 agreement, trusteeship agreement, which is an instrument, international instrument, by which they can fix this problem overnight. This is a UN trust territory we're talking about.
All right, Ghana, quickly, before I get to
Martin, Secretary Chris, let me just add this very briefly, that we have Pa Augustine Dangam here on this panel, and Pa Augustine Dangam was party in a lawsuit which took La République du Cameroon to the African Human Rights Court, which in and of itself is an organ of the UN. And that ruling that was made in Banjul in 2009 came out with the African Human Rights Court in a lot of articles asserting the right of the Southern Cameroons to self-determination, especially in Article 20 of that ruling, which the African Human Rights Court found La République du Cameroon to be in violation of the rights of self-determination of the people of the Southern Cameroon. So a UN organ itself, duly constituted with a lawsuit, executing its rightful jurisdiction, with our own Pa Augustine Dangam here as one of the plaintiffs. And again, the name of that lawsuit is Kevin Goumet Ndangam v. La République du Cameroon. So just to support what Professor Martin Ayim is saying, the evidence for the UN to act is not just a trickle, it is a fraud.
Thank you. Let me get to Pa Ndangam right now. I will add one more question. I know you would like to respond to the other speakers, comment on what the other speakers have said. But I would also add this question: How come we never read these things in any of our textbooks? No books. I am looking at people saying, how come we were never taught this in school? But not only that, no Ambazonian author produced books with facts such as the ones we are hearing contemporary, except when you have occasional pamphlets. I read one by Ngamchia, Albert Mokong, and a few others wrote pamphlets going back, tracing the origin of this struggle. How come our children were never taught this in school?
Well, look, again, you are going back to ask how dictatorship works.
Exactly.
It works by suppression. You say what the dictator wants, or you don't say anything at all. I want to also mention that I took part and a leading part in fighting for the GCE board. I led the fight in the Northern Zone and eventually nationally when we formed the GCE board. I was a member of the GCE board. And one of the things we discussed there was teaching of our history. And if I plunge into what the ministry attitude towards that, when it will take a long time, because I don't want to take a story halfway and don't land.
Okay.
Yeah, but the attitude was no, you don't do it. And it is not only then that we took the GCE board, and this is what we were like fighting the ministry and the government for what should be taught about our history. It is not only then, it is happening now. It is happening now. Chris, you might have heard, or our readers must have heard of one of our leading lawyers back home, who started we started this struggle with. The lawyer is in Buea. He was arrested. He was in Condé for long, and then he was released. And then he went back to Buea. He's free, and he also teaches in the university. Now, in the last exam that passed, he set a question to his law class, the English law class, and he had a query. He was queried, summoned to a disciplinary council for setting that question. I've just forgotten the name.
Barrister Agbonkongo.
Thank you.
I mean, Agbonkongo Bayibala, yes.
Yes. He set a question on what he is teaching on his law to law students, English law, on the events, current events about Southern Cameroon matter, and was not only summoned to a disciplinary council, he's been terminated from the teaching in the university. Yes, before the council, whether it's the council that sat, but he's asked to leave the teaching in the university. He's not allowed to. Well, so Chris, the actions are being taken at all levels, at individual levels, at professional levels, and so on, to suppress anything Anglophone. In the parliament, you heard the speeches of honorable members from the one in Saw to the one in Bamenda, what they tried to say and how the speaker reacted. So it's not that the action has not been taken. So I want to go back to where we started and to say that, look, when we came together by error or deliberately, 1961, I remember clearly that in 1961, the Francophones celebrated, French Cameroon celebrated 1st January, their Independence Day. And the Anglophones on October celebrated 1st October. It was done. I was there. And I can tell you that it was official. It was accepted. Accepted in the sense that there are pictures that can show you that in 1961, the government of Cameroon, the marching in many places, the SDO delivered the message of the government of Cameroon, the federal government, and the head of state to the people, congratulating them for their independence. We have pictures. We have pictures of these events. But it is after that first one that they sat down and began to reflect. Oh, if we allow them to be celebrating 1st October, they will more and more come to know that they were independent, they were granted independence, and so we'll be in trouble. So they stopped it, not only stopped it, 1st October became a taboo. You don't talk about it, you don't celebrate it. They started arresting people. But the first one was done, and it's on record. And we have pictures of those DOs who delivered congratulations to the population of Southern Cameroon. Now, I hear back home that this one tomorrow may not be celebrated because of COVID-19, the international problem of health. I don't know whether that is all the whole story, because even if it was not, it's not going to be celebrated. We should hear the head of state speak this night in Cameroon. But since that health problem worldwide came upon the world population, heads of states have spoken. They've spoken publicly, but we've not heard the one of Cameroon talking. That is interesting, an interesting point. It's a side point. What I want to say, I want to end with 2 points.
Okay.
One is that the point which we started with, the point of the referendum, 20th May referendum in 1972. It has been a referendum which nobody has been proud. When we say we celebrate an event, it means that we are happy. We go out, we drink, we rejoice, we march, we sing. But nobody not in Southern Cameroon, not in the Republic of Cameroon, has done this with any joy. With me as a Southern Cameroonian, with most in Southern Cameroonians, it is like you will, in the slavery day, you will ask a slave to come out and celebrate on the day on which he was captured. You can imagine the thoughts and the feelings of the slave. Yes, he's a slave, he can come out and march as you order, the master orders, but you can imagine his feeling. And on the other side, nobody has sincerely, as a Francophone, celebrated that day with its meaning and so on happily. You can tell me that you are not a Francophone. How do you know? Well, we know by the events we see. And I can quote one event here which illustrates the national point as evidence. In the meeting of the Commonwealth, heads of government in Abuja, Nigeria, the opening day of that particular meeting, Cameroon is a member of the Commonwealth. What the Commonwealth did on that day revealed something about Cameroon which the world did not have an idea about. They did the plenary session, the opening session, by showing all the delegations from all over the Commonwealth a film of how member states of the Commonwealth joined the Commonwealth. On which date? What is the day, their national day? What do they celebrate as national day? And the film basically was, they will take a country and say India. They will put the picture of their head of state. They put the date India became independent. They put the date that India celebrates as its national day. They take, say, South Africa. They do the same thing. They put their head of state's picture. They show when South Africa became independent, which day it celebrates in the year, which day it joined the Commonwealth. Just that profile. And they were doing this alphabetically, you know. And then they came to Cameroon. And what happened? They put the picture of the head of state, Paul Biya, head of state. The standard information that was coming out along each state, blank. And they showed that picture of Biya for the time that they were giving to each country. And after that, off. And you can imagine what happened after the film. Everybody was asking the whole, Cameroon, has it no national, there's no information about Cameroon? No. Does it not celebrate? Has it not got an independence date?
Yeah.
It was blank. Why? Because of what we are discussing. Why? If Southern Cameroon joined the Republic of Cameroon in the way that the United Nations was envisaging, that in the way that the two countries agreed and signed in a communique, that is, we actually joined them. That committee on paragraph 5 did their work and reported. If we joined them according to how United Nations was arranging, there should be a national day, yes. But this one of 20th May, which is being forced upon us, does not work. It does not work because it is not the Independence Day of the Republic of Cameroon. It is not the Independence Day of Southern Cameroon. And many of the countries in the Commonwealth showed that they were celebrating their day of independence. And Cameroon
has no day of independence.
Yes. What they did in 1961, they did it for that year and it ended. So, I think the people of Cameroon themselves, if they are honest, they will say that we go internationally and we are not proud of this date. We are forcing these people. I've met only one Cameroonian, French-speaking Cameroonian, recently on ABC, who said something that struck me, very interesting. Chris was interviewing him, and the essence of his position was, as a Francophone, I like that if we were to be one country, it should be a federation. Fine, that is his view. Some people call from home attacking him. No, that is his view. He has a right to hold that view.
Right.
But he also said, interestingly, and that's the first Francophone I heard that from, that we could sit down and talk, and the Anglophones say they want to go and build their own country. Yeah, we leave them. We organize how to live as good neighbors.
Right.
That is the first Francophone I heard being honest and frank. I've forgotten his name. Somebody called Dupont.
Jean-Pierre Dupont.
But, yes. Chris was the one interviewing him. And that was the first time I heard a Francophone. The first one I heard was the one that our lawyer has, Mr. Ghana has quoted. The one who was governor in Yaoundé at the time that they held the Fumban conference. He is interesting because this was a Francophone holding a high administrative position, went back to France, became a minister, he had 2 ministries, and became prime minister. And he was the first, after they ended Fumban, to write a book and said that in Fumban, what actually happened was that Ahidjo annexed southern Cameroons, that it was annexation. That's the first objective person who is not a southern Cameroonian who said southern Cameroon was annexed in Fumban. But why was Fumban convened? Why did the Republic of Cameroon not cooperate with the United Nations in its committee? It went and said Fumban. This is the question we should be raising. So I want to end. There are 3, in my own view, there are 3 options for all southern Cameroons to look at, to thrust at, with all our strength. It is not that one is more important than the other. The thing that we should do is, first at the United Nations, we should stop writing there, complaining about what happened, just one thing for all the groups, the interim government, and everybody who is writing, even individuals, to ask the United Nations, to point out to the United Nations that the British Southern Cameroon has never been decolonized. It has never been decolonized. And to show that what happened at the process of the decolonization was that Britain decided to cede or to transfer British Cameroon to Ahidjo. This is not what Britain was supposed to do. So if anybody argues that we have been decolonized, it should show us the instrument. It should show us where we are. We've not been decolonized. And it is for the United Nations to refer the matter to the committee that is in charge of this. They have classified as decolonized.
All right.
There
Thank you, Prof. Ayim and
I said there are 3 points. The second point is the negotiation. I'm not specifying that the Swiss negotiation. Swiss negotiation is only one.
Yeah.
If it does not work, if it does not succeed, we look for another person to arbitrate. Negotiation is one. Whatever you do in war, you must sit down and talk. So if Swiss one is working, fine. We should cooperate. We should support it. Those who are not there should not say it should fail. It should work.
Thank you.
The third and last thing is what I think Lawyer Ghana brought up, the matter of the legal path. The legal path is another possibility. So far, SCAPO has followed that path in Nigeria, in Banjul, and since Lawyer Ghana brought it up, I just mentioned in passing that what the Southern Cameroon file in Banjul got missing. After we did all the cases according to the treaties that Cameroon has signed to respect their boundary and independence, this was the last important case that SCAPO took in Banjul. You sign a treaty that you respect your boundary at independence. You have crossed into Southern Cameroons. So we asked the Commission to find the Republic of Cameroon in conflict, in disagreement with the general agreement that you respect your boundary at independence. The case went on well. The parties replied. Southern Cameroon made its rejoinder. But we waited for 5 years, writing the Commission, reminding them that we are waiting for whatever step it was left. And when we didn't receive any answer, we went there as a delegation. only to hear that the file was missing. So I'm saying this particularly to people at home, that the Southern Cameroon matter in Banjul ended in a funny way. I would say it raised eyebrows, because when the commission said that it was missing, SCAPO took the steps to say, well, if it is missing, it is easy for the commission to reopen the case and adjudicate. Yes,
I would like us to do this. I will bring you back and let us talk about Banjul, because I think it's a whole subject on its own that needs some.
Yes, so I want to stop there. These are the three possibilities before us. The United Nations, when we approach it, we should show that we're never decolonized.
Yes.
And they should refer the matter to the right committee.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Ground Zero gets the message, and sitting home today and thinking about 20th May, the point is that it was never supposed to be. And I will give Prof. Ayim and Barrister Ghana, please, one minute. We're out of time. Just summarize and let Ground Zero know why we are saying 20th May was a fraud. 1 minute each, please. Prof. Ayim.
Right, I understand. And we have to give Pa his time, you know. And you see, he's an encyclopedia. Listen, talking about, you talked about education. You see, this assimilation policy of French Cameroon that had been and is still going on related to academics and etc. That's why the teachers revolted, etc., etc. So the assimilation policy is still ongoing. From the beginning of this program, you talked about land, estate, etc. It is still part of the assimilation policy. Even though Biya proclaimed in Paris that they had failed, they are still trying. So these people are not giving up. So you can imagine this is 2020 and they can still punish Agbabala for setting a question. Imagine in those days. That's why you didn't say anything in the books. You write and you are finished. All right. So 20th May is a national day of mourning. It's an illegal day. And in my perspective, and it is null and void, Amazonians will rise up as we have risen. We should have been out there demonstrating forcefully against this, but because of this COVID virus, we are locking down. But this day is a national day of mourning. As illegal as it was, as illegal as 1961 was, as illegal as everything related to Southern Cameroon and Amazonia has been, even 1984, the changing of the names. The only solution is for the UN to make sure that its UN articles and resolutions are implemented. If the paragraph 5 of 1608 to 15 is implemented, then the decolonization process will be complete. Right now, the self-determination issue, the human rights abuses, people are being killed, houses are burned, villages are burned, all this. Why are we going through this senseless thing and the UN is there watching from a people who are not supposed even to be in our territory to start with? A country that has violated all their articles and resolutions, and then they are doing this and going free. Why? So our people, our fighters on the ground, our self-defense people, let's stand up. We are very proud of our people on the ground, because when we talk about lockdown, they cooperate. The lockdown of the elections, the lockdown of this, we are seeing and we are getting those things and making good use of at diplomatic levels. So this cooperation should continue. Our hearts are off for our people on Ground Zero. We feel for you.
All
and
right,
we are
all
with
right.
Please.
Thank
this
you.
interim government led by Sako, we are killing for you, we are working for you, and will never disappoint you towards this goal of statehood restoration, independence, and sovereignty. Never.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Barrister Ghana, please, 1 minute, last word, and then I will take 1 or 2 calls, and then we'll call it a day.
Thanks again for being amongst these two giants of our history and our struggle. Just to mention one other name, Barrister von Gojidinka, just to tie it to the issue of people who try to resist, people who try to write. In the mid-80s, he wrote A New Social Order. He wrote Dissolve the Time Bomb. He wrote Letter to the Cameroon Etat-Major. He was arrested, tried for treason, tortured in Kondongi until he had a stroke. And so the resistance of our people has been present, continuous, and it's still ongoing. To quote Frederick Douglass here, power concedes nothing without a demand, without a fight. It never did, and it never will. France, working with La République, has been an aggressor. In 1961, April 21st, the independence of the Southern Cameroons was voted at the UN. Our independence is not in dispute. La République du Cameroon and France have been violating our sovereignty since 1961. What we are asking is for La République du Cameroon to withdraw its barbaric genocidal forces from our territory who are slaughtering our people. To the message, or a message to the people on ground zero, the fighters who are sacrificing their lives and limb to defend our territory. Kudos to you. To people who are watching this program, self-defense is a right enshrined in international law. Support the interim government, support your LGAs, contribute, donate, for our freedom depends on the means that we employ. And we are betraying our people if we don't employ means that will guarantee their victory. So reach down into your pockets, support the interim government, support the local government areas, for the limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppressed. Since 2016, we have shown La République that they thought they were going to walk over Ambazonia in 3 weeks. It's past 3 years, our fighters are still fighting. We have become a rope weaved of tens of thousands of strands, and a rope weaved of 1,000 strands is strong enough to drag any lion to its grave. The diaper-wearing lazy dictator of a Tudi who has been killing our people, God is going to send him to his grave if he's not already in his grave. But we are going to walk out of that unholy union because it's our birthright to be an independent nation. So to our people, keep up the fight and we will be free.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think Ground Zero should be so very excited with this broadcast. Unfortunately, many of them are not watching. I can see some comments to the effect that Ground Zero is not watching on the social media. I don't know whether they can watch on the, I hope they are watching on TV. But this has been such a great piece of education to our people. And I will just open the phones for a few minutes, take 1, 2, or 3 calls. And if you are responding, please, I give you only 50 seconds. If you have to respond, only 50 seconds. We are actually running out of time. We've been broadcasting for about over 2.5 hours now, and we need to round up. I have the first caller here who is joining from California. Hello, man.
Good afternoon, Secretary Chris.
Good afternoon, man. Thanks for the call. What is your contribution or your question?
Yes, well, Biden, my name is Patience Abudu, and I'm so happy that this topic has come up. And I will not pretend to be a historian, but because of our struggle, I've done a lot of reading. And I just want to add to this. First of all, I want to thank Ndangam, Dr. Ghana, and Professor Ayin for enlightening our people. But there's something that I think should be also thrown into this discussion, and that has to do with the cooperation agreement between France and Cameroon. So on the 26th of December 1959, just 5 days before French Cameroon gained its independence from France, President Ahidjo and President Charles de Gaulle of France signed this cooperation agreement. But the thing that is very important that I think we should go back to it and know that that's where we are having problems is because number 1 of the Article 6 says that France shall determine Cameroon's political, economic, and socio-cultural orientations. And then on the November 10, 1961, just barely a month after French Cameroon and Southern Cameroon became a federation, the military aspect was added to it. That each time the Cameroonian president is overwhelmed by an external aggression or internal rebellion, he may call France for assistance. So at that time, that's probably why these British Cameroonians could not rebel, knowing that France had all this military capability. And if we even have to step backwards, the bottom line of all this is because of our resources, our oil. So 20th May came about because of France's pressure on La République du Cameroun, Ahidjo, for them to come get our minerals that we had a lot of in Victoria. So I just wanted our esteemed professionals to add to this, because I think that's the only reason why they were interested in Southern Cameroon in the first place, our resources. Thank you so much, and I wait for your comments.
All right, thank you for the call. That is an angle. That probably would be under dispute. That is the reason why our people were not able to protest. I think our people have been protesting. The resistance has been there, just as the panel indicated. Although the suppression was always there, but then I would like the panel to come in, please, 1 minute each, on this French pact thing with La République du Cameroun. Do you think that contributed to the inability of our people to protest all along these transformations from federation to United Republic to the Republic? I'll start with Augustine.
Okay, Chris. I think the question is actually larger. What she has raised is larger than that. And one aspect that we should add to it is that not only did France sign these agreements before we joined these people, and therefore that agreement did not cover us, but even while we have been part of the Republic of Cameroon, supposed to be part of the policy, the first thing that as Anglophones, the first thing with Anglophones and France is France's attitude specified on Anglophones, their policy coming from the highest office, the presidency of France on Anglophone came in 1992 when an Anglophone won the presidency, the elections to go into the presidency of the Republic. And France came up with the policy. First of all, that Anglophone, Ni John Frundi, was arrested for 3 months, house arrest for 3 months. And thereafter, the French came up with the official policy against Anglophones in Cameroon. And the policy states a line, the red line. And the title of that policy is the red line which Anglophones in Cameroon must never, ever cross. That policy states that if ever the people of Cameroon again make the mistake to elect an Anglophone into the presidency, France will step in and reverse the thing, reverse the decision, if need be, with an army.
Do we have that documented?
I have it. Yes, we have it.
I would like to have a copy, if possible.
Okay. Okay. So this is part of the policy of official policy of France till today. And what did Frundi or any Anglophone do? If you are a citizen of a country, you have the full right to aspire to any office in that country, even the highest one. So I say that if they vote, whether Frundi or any other Anglophone, France will step in and reverse the matter and make the status quo. So this is one aspect of policy with the French, which targets the Anglophones, and it's not acceptable.
So I get you. Thank you. You are essentially saying that, yes, that policy is very much still alive, and it is still hindering anything Ambazonian from ever being the leader of that country. Thank you. Ghana, please.
It is still on. It has never been reversed, yes.
Ghana, please.
Yes, French mischief in Africa is nothing new, and French mischief in Africa will continue until we resist it by all means necessary. I mean, you can go to the death of Thomas Sankara, where the reinforcing troops came from Ivory Coast. We can go to the overthrow of Laurent Gbagbo in the Ivory Coast. I mean, the French mischief in Africa is littered all over. But a zebra cannot unstripe itself. Whatever France wants to do with its colonies, with its satellite states in Africa, that is a different battle to fight. If Francophone Cameroonians want to stay under the 1959 French Accords, which Dr. Patience Abiedu excellently articulated, that is French Cameroon's cup of tea. We are not covered by those accords. We were never a French colony. We were never a French trusteeship territory. We have never signed any agreements to be in any accord with France. And what we are asking France and La République du Cameroun to do is to stop violating the sovereignty of Ambazonia and pull out of the Southern Cameroons. And as we contemplate lawsuits in the ICC, in the ICJ, in other courts in the world to hold La République and its principles executing this genocide in Cameroon, we will tie France to those lawsuits, because France, through those 1959 accords, is a principle, and in law, the principle is just as guilty as the agent. So yes, Dr. Patience Abiedu, I agree with you regarding the 1959 accords, but that has to do with French Cameroon. Ambazonia does not come under the umbrella of those accords.
All right, thank you. Provide you, please, quickly, 1 minute.
Yes, in this struggle, we must choose our fight wisely. We cannot be attacking everything. The French Cooperative Accord was with La République du Cameroun. It was not with the Federal Republic of Cameroon. That is to say, it does not affect us, Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Our fight is defined according to the UN articles and resolutions. Okay, that has been violated. All right.
Yeah.
The French La République has been trying to assimilate us, and if they succeed in assimilating us, that's when the accord can apply. But as an international issue, international situation where we are not bothered about the internal problems of La République du Cameroun. We are bothered about the international personality of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia based on UN articles and resolutions and the African Union Constitutive Act 4B. That is where my fight ends.
Thank you. Thank you. I will take the next question. Perhaps that may be the last question for the day. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are live. May I know where you're calling in from, please?
Yeah, I'm calling in from Switzerland, sir.
Okay, now, you have 1 minute, sir. You have 1 minute to make your question. Go ahead.
The fraud goes beyond what our three kings are explaining to us, because how can they explain the division between the northern Cameroons and the southern Cameroons? There is a plot bigger than what we are talking about.
And what is that plot according to you?
Yeah, that's the explanation that I want to get from our three kings, our three wise men here. It has been a very exciting explanation from them. But what happened that we're being divided? And is there any frontier between the Southern Cameroons and the Northern Cameroons? Because that front goes, according to me, has something to do with the Nigerians too. Because they took that north, and we don't know. There's nothing we know about our northern brothers, our sisters, our part of our land. What is going on? Can you please tell us? Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I will allow them only 50 seconds to try the question, because it's a whole, I have promised Pandangam I will bring him back to talk about Banjul, and I think we also would need to talk about Northern Cameroon. Often when we say Northern Cameroon, many people think we are referring to French Cameroon. No, French Cameroon is not what we refer to as Northern Cameroon. Northern Cameroon refers to the part of the Cameroons that went over to Nigeria in 1961. But that will be a whole subject on its own with the Banjul when I bring back Pandangam here and the panel. Thank you very much for that question. I don't want us to go back into it. Let me take one more question, since I'm not asking for
Secretary Chris. Secretary Chris.
Yes, sir.
Secretary Chris.
Yes.
Just hold on. Let me just say one thing, and let me say one thing briefly about that question he asked. Very briefly.
Okay. Right. Me too.
When you go to court to seek redress on an issue, you go to court as a party. A party that is not coming to court to seek address on that issue cannot be addressed. We cannot seek to address the Northern Cameroons, which is part of Northern Nigeria, because they are not seeking anybody violating their sovereignty. They are not seeking anybody violating their rights. Our case is about the Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia. The Northern Cameroon has not taken any, or the former Northern Cameroons have not taken any party to court seeking a redress of their situation.
All right.
Can I chime in, please?
Provide him, please.
Yes, just about 20 seconds. Listen, that's a very pertinent question. There is no international boundary between the British Northern Cameroons and the British Southern Cameroons. Britain did that for administrative convenience. Okay, from the beginning, I talked about 1946 trusteeship agreement, which covers the entire territory of British Cameroons. So British Northern Cameroons plus British Southern Cameroons is British Cameroons. So up to now, we know about Professor Martin Chia. He's working on that, and we'll get developments as that goes. But that's another angle. Yes, the British Northern Cameroons are actually addressing the issue in their own way. So until we get some more enlightenment from Professor Martin Chia, then we'll just keep waiting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Let me get to the last caller. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello, Chris. This is Ernest calling from Maryland.
Thanks for calling, sir. What's your question?
Yeah, I just have an observation, if not a comment. What I need to say is that, you know, from what they say about what the rule that the French signed with La République, as long as we continue to remain as one Cameroon and indivisible, then that law binds even the Southern Cameroon. That's the reason why, if we don't fight hard, we'll continue to remain under those kind of conditions. So if you are in your house and somebody knock the door and you don't want to open, and then the person start breaking the door, you definitely pay attention. This is what we need to do now. We need to hammer hard and don't even bother about the UN. Those who are doing UN, there are people that are taking care of that. There are people that are taking care of everything. But let us fight for our soil and fight hard. Somebody will turn around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I must take this caller, the only caller I'm getting from Ground Zero. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Chris. Secretary Chris is I'm calling.
Okay, you are calling. We are live on ABC. You have a contribution.
Hello.
Hello, you are live on ABC. You have a contribution?
I have a contribution just because of Nanga, a person I know very well.
Okay.
I just want to talk and say something to him.
You are calling from Bamenda, right?
From Bamenda, yes, from Bamenda.
Okay, go on, please.
Thank you very much. Greetings to Mr. Ndangam in the studio there, a person I know very well. I think he should understand and know this voice talking to him. From the then time of Led Pandi, the rest of Chivayama, all those people, I don't want to be calling them. I just accepted all what he has explained. They are all correct. I would have loved to ask you a question. I would have not asking a question of the past history because all what I have talked about the history are all past errors that are being on the way now to be corrected. I would have loved asking him on what they're supposed to do, but I'm not doing that because of time constraint. I've been waiting for him and to ask him something very powerful. I'm somebody who is so versed on this particular struggle, and he knows me very well. I will not give name, but he knows very well. I'll be coming on him anytime he's on air with you, Secretary Chris. I will ask a question to him. He's a person I know very well. He's very versed in this thing, and he has been very Chivayamba, Dinglo, all the late ones, all. I know them very well. So thank you very much. Greetings to all of you there in the studio. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there electricity in Bamenda? Do you have electricity in Bamenda or what?
Yeah, the electricity in my house. Unfortunately, they will have it today.
So you are watching this on your television?
Yeah, but the thing is that the part that I'm living now is having electricity, but another quarter will not be having. They put them in a channel by 6 a.m. or by 12 noon tomorrow. I will not have another quarter of having. Then by 6 p.m. the quarter will not be having, and then another quarter will take over.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I also understand some Ground Zero cannot watch this on the television, but we're also streaming on YouTube simultaneously with Facebook. In fact, we have I think close to 300 watching on YouTube. So, gentlemen, I should say, not ladies and gentlemen, I really want to appreciate your coming on board for this broadcast, a very special broadcast. I can see the comments out there. People are excited. They feel like they have learned what they never knew. For all their years as Ambazonians, people have gone to school from primary to secondary to high school and graduated to the university. We never learn. We never learn our history. It was twisted. All we knew was 11th of February. We were told 20th May. Nothing was told us what happened between 1953 up to the present date. And I thank God that we are at an era that our people got to know our history and know it from the right perspective. I will give you 50 seconds each, please, to just end up. Valentine, please.
Thank you very much. And again, my honor being amongst these two giants. Our struggle is real. Our struggle is legitimate. Our struggle is recognized internationally. We are an independent people. Again, our sovereignty is being violated by La République du Cameroon and France. South Africa violated Namibia's independence, and South Africa had to give it up. Serbia, in the larger Yugoslavia, violated the sovereignty of Bosnia, of Croatia, but it ended in Yugoslavia, and Croatia and Bosnia are now free. The USSR violated the sovereignty of Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, Georgia, all of those satellite states. In 1991, it came all crashing, and those states became free. Just like Ethiopia could not hold Eritrea in bondage, just like South Africa could not hold Namibia in bondage, just like Yugoslavia could not hold Bosnia and Croatia and the other states in bondage, La République du Cameroon will be forced to cough out and cough away Ambazonia, whether it likes it or not. The earlier it does that, the better it will be for African advancement. So our fight is real. Don't relent. Everybody needs to dig into their coffers and join this struggle, for victory is closer than we think.
Thank you. Thank you. Prof. Ayim, please.
Fellow Amazonians, especially the Amazonian Restoration Forces, the young, valiant fighters on the ground, I salute all of you. And I encourage you to stay strong, stay committed, stay focused on the struggle. Don't be bought over. Don't be deceived by pennies. This interim government, led by Dr. Sako, we love you. We are doing everything possible to give you what you need. To fellow Amazonians, the World Draft, which was launched and is ongoing, please join your county, join your LGA, and let's raise the funds to be able to give these young men and women what they need to defend our territory. And to those in other groups, to those in groups, please, we are all Amazonians. My appeal is, let's come to our senses and unite, collaborate, and work towards the enemy, not towards ourselves. There is time to think. There is time to come together. There is time to work in a concerted way. This is the time. No more fake excuses. This IG is open, and ACT is open for the Swiss mediation. Please, any group that is willing, join the ACT willingly, so we make it better, so we can go to the table as a stronger whole. Please, let's stop all this unnecessary bickering here and there and all this name calling. To the activists, please, I am calling for God to bless you, to give you some sanity, so that we all work as one people, one struggle, and for one destiny. This is my clarion call. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. By Augustine, please, 50 seconds. Let's run up.
Thank you, Chris. This struggle of ours is something that went wrong, awfully wrong in our decolonization. And the British cannot wash their hands clean of this. What we should know as we fight is that the British and the French, they are allies, and other allies of the British have gone around to assist and make things difficult for Southern Cameroons. They are the ones that transferred us to a neighboring country unlawfully. Now, so they surrendered this territory to a neighboring country illegally. So the struggle now is between two things, two concepts, two ideas. It is between something that is lawful, is legal, and something that is political. Now we have this challenge before us as Amazonians, as Southern Cameroonians. The British and the French are pushing the struggle from a political standpoint by telling the people that this is a matter that is an internal matter to Republic of Cameroon. Other nations should not enter. We should be aware of this. And one of our strongest points, thrust in the struggle, should be to face the facts of law, the facts of history. Law. It is either de jure, as the lawyers say, or de facto. And if we want to leave it to the politician to assert de facto, the fact that the world sees Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, as part of the Republic of Cameroon, that is a fact that is wrong, has no legal basis. It is like they have pushed an inflated ball into the water and holding it down in water. But the fact of law, if we pursue it, the fact of negotiation, if we pursue it, the facts of history, and showing that we have not been decolonized, if we pursue this without giving up, I'm sure victory is ours. We'll be free as a country. Thank you.
All right, all right. Thank you all very much. Thanks for coming on, Prof. Ayim, Barrister Valentine, Ghana, and Pa Augustine Ndengam. I think it was a very, very exciting conversation and a lot of education there. Thank you all for coming in. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. You got it from ABC. I hope that you stay put and come back next time. I am believing that by God's grace, I shall be back here tomorrow for another live broadcast. Until then, I urge you, please go to abcambertv.org, abcambertv.org, register, sign up for Amber ABC Club, and let us make ABC the best, and I mean that, in Africa. Thank you for tuning in. See you again tomorrow.